Alright, peace and greetings YouTubers. Okay, so welcome to part 12 of my R&B is Dead, What the F Happened series. So in the last bit I was talking about a bunch of different elements regarding R&B acts and everything. I want to kind of continue that conversation. This one's talking more so along the lines of why I think a lot of the people are having a hard time making comebacks. And I think it has to do with the fact that the branding is wrong, the foundations are not there for a lot of these acts, and the music is just off. I was talking to somebody the other day and they're asking me about Mariah. Because, you know, Janet's coming back out, and speaking of Janet, she will just get a totally separate video, because if I start talking about her now, we'll be here for 9 days. So, Janet, you got another video coming. But anyway, they're asking about Mariah, and they're saying, well, how come Mariah is, well, actually, they were trying to be split. They were trying to say, well, Janet can't effing sing. Why the heck is everybody so excited about her, but nobody cares about Mariah? And I had a great time explaining why. But, so let's talk about Mariah for one quick second, because I think she's the prime example of this. Now, yes, let's just go ahead and get the accolades out the way so you lambs can get off my back. Yes, we know she has 18 number ones. We know she sold 200 million records. We know she had a number one single every year in the 90s. Great. Let's talk about 2015. I think the issue that happened with Mariah is the marketing that they've given her over the years went to bite her in the ass in the long run. Because, you know, she was always marketed as the voice, greatest singer of all time, greatest singer of all time, greatest singer of all time, especially when Whitney was still alive and Mariah was at her peak, and Whitney's peak was starting to gradually fade and Mariah kept getting bigger. Mariah's the best, and she's young, and she's hip, and she has all the fun songs, Mariah. All the emphasis stayed on Mariah's voice. Her voice. Almost turned her into what you would call like a one-trick pony. That was the only thing she was good for, was her voice. Now in 2015, when that voice isn't as polished as it used to be, and she's going on all these venues having these performances and people are laughing at her, and the voice isn't sounding like the voice that we're used to hearing, now people are saying, well, what do we need you for? Especially now that this little Ariana Grande girl is out, and I'm not saying that one's better than the other, because I still think Mariah at her peak, you couldn't put Ariana in a room with her. But currently, at the moment, Mariah can't hang with little Ariana. Even though Ariana's voice has no bottom and it sounds empty to me, little Ariana can hit all her notes, and it's making Mariah look like a joke. And it doesn't help that Mariah just has terrible imaging right now. Like, I think her last project, the Me, I Am Mariah, was a great album for what it was. I've never really liked Mariah that much to begin with, so it's rare that I really even get into her collection. Yeah, I'll give her kudos for Butterfly, and I'll give her kudos for Emancipation and all that stuff, so you lambs can get off my back. But I've never been big on Mariah albums. But anyway, this album was actually a very nice little album. My issue with the album was it's so compressed. You can hear, and I think it has to do with her recording the songs, taking a million different takes in all the songs. It's like you listen to the song and you will hear vocals coming from this way, and you'll hear something pasted in from here, and then something pasted from under, and it's just blended and just piecing this, that here, and then she'll be singing it. It's almost wrong. It was just off. I didn't like it. But what it was, the album had some gems. I thought what they would have done, I thought the dedicated song with Nas would have been a single. That is a gem. That is a good song. Like, I still rock and jam to that like a year later. That was a great song. That's the song that made me buy the album. I was like, this is hot. All right. Instead, they chose to do a bunch of stupid, silly things and choices. Like, one, you know, they had started marketing for this album like almost 2 years before it came out. So it's kind of like, because, you know, she came up with the Beautiful song, and then there was like the Art of Letting Go, and I don't know, it's just, the whole era is wrong. Her image and everything is wrong. That voice, listen, I'm not going to knock her, because that's the one thing that she has, and that's the thing I was saying, like, once that voice is gone, there's nothing else that she has to offer, because that's what they marketed her as. It's cool that she writes her songs and everything, and that's what always gave her the edge over Whitney as far as artistry, if you want to say that, but it's like, with that voice being gone, I don't know what she can do. And once your tone is shot, there's not much you can do to fix a tone. The tone that's permanent, so I think Mariah has to figure out how to work with what she has, but she keeps having these performances and I'm seeing, and they're not that good in my opinion. And the funny thing about it is, Mariah can still be salvaged, because when I look at Whitney's last era, like, in comparison, Whitney's voice was gone, even worse than what Mariah's. Mariah still has enough voice that you can play around with it in the studio and make her sound like it's still 1995. Whitney, When I Look to You came out, which, by the way, is, I never liked that album either. And speaking of Whitney, I never liked Whitney's albums that much either. I love Whitney, and she has some great hits, and I'll take the greatest hits all day. But as far as her albums, other than maybe like I'm Your Baby Tonight and maybe just Whitney, I never cared for Whitney's albums cohesively, because they just never took me anywhere. They were just a bunch of songs, and I think it has to do with the fact that she didn't write hers. But with Whitney, in 2009, I Look to You album, Whitney's voice was gone. She didn't have a hit song. Somehow that album still sold 2 million records. And I think the reason why was the marketing and the imaging that they gave her was brilliant. Clive Davis and the team over at, I forgot what label she was on. Hell, whatever label it is. Anyway, was it J Records? I don't know. Anyway, Clive and the team, they basically said we're going to have a big marketing eventful type of thing where we're gonna make this a rags to riches story. Whitney is back, the voice is back, and Whitney, Whitney's like, everything was just right. Her imaging was right. Even the way that she presented herself, she was poised, and they got her some new pre-pressprint wigs and everything where juices and stuff weren't dripping. They didn't have her out there fighting and keying cars with Bobby no more because Bobby was out the picture, and Whitney was in her beloved Jesus state. I just done so much and I've sold so many records, and now this is my new album. I look to you. Because you support me in my music, because my music is my gift, and my gift is my music. You know how Whitney do her stuff. And, because of that, it appealed to the audiences. Because Whitney, like the performances, I'm not going to say too much about the performances, but let's just say Whitney was talking through a lot of them songs, especially when she did that AMA performance. But what it is, the marketing and the imaging went well with audiences, and the soccer moms and the Martha Stewart collection, and then the older Whitney fans, they went and bought that album. That thing sold 2 million records, sold like 300,000 copies the first week. So it's all about the imaging. Anyway, y'all took me way off course. How much time I got? I spent all day talking about Mariah's behind. Anyway, so I think the branding and stuff is off. So let me talk about some of these current acts. Ciara. Ciara's a unique case because Ciara had a wide lane open for her. It was just, go for it. It's all yours, straight lane. One, Janet was already, all the soccer moms were pissed with Janet because her boob fell out. And then plus Janet was already getting old, so she was falling off. Britney Spears had broke her leg, so she wasn't doing no dancing anymore. So the teeny boppers in the suburbs didn't have anybody to look up to. Maya never was that big in the first place, but she was on a temporary hiatus. And at the time, Destiny's Child was out, so Beyonce was occupied. And so Ciara had this game all to herself. And she did good for them first 3 years. From 04 to about 07, she was killing the game. And as a matter of fact, when 07, she was like the only person that could fight off Beyonce. Like, she was the only one. Janet couldn't do it at the time, because, hell, 20YO came out. Y'all said, nope, not today. Y'all didn't even give her a chance with that one. And a lot of the other, Jennifer Hudson, nobody cared about her unless it had something to do with Dreamgirls. Kelly Rowland came out and went. All the girls, the only people that could hang with Beyonce was like the pop girls. It was like Fergie and Pink and Gwen and Nelly Furtado. But the R&B girls and R&B singers, they weren't having a good time. But anyway, Ciara had, the lane was there for her. There needed to be a new type of Janet Jackson artist. Ciara, I don't know what happened. She just made a bunch of bad choices. And my biggest issue with her is that Ciara, as much as I enjoy her music, Ciara is under the impression that she is Whitney Houston. Ciara is under the impression that we go out of our way to want to hear her vocals. Okay? I think what makes Ciara big is that Ciara is an excellent performer and she has lots of stamina and energy on stage. But we're not really big about her voice. Okay? I know I'm a Janet fan and I got the nerve to talk about anybody's voice. But the thing about Janet was Janet knew that she was nobody's singer. She knew how to stay in her lane. So she'd go on her tour, and okay, let me go ahead and do these 2 quick ballads so we can get back to the dancing. All right, let me sit on my stool and something I want to tell you. Okay, let's do Control, let's go. Janet knew what was up. Ciara, on the other hand, Ciara thinks we want to hear her sing ballads, and we don't. Like, I will always remember when Michael Jackson died, and it was that BET Awards. And I thought she learned after Away in a Manger, but she didn't. And the thing about it was, this was a time period when I was starting to see Ciara was getting on my nerves, because I always felt that Ciara didn't start giving Janet credit until recently. She would always be like, oh, Michael. So I'm like, okay, well, now that Michael's dead, I want a Michael tribute. So she goes there, and I'm waiting for her to come out with the glove and the shoe and slide and no, she's on a stool. And I'm looking like, what is she on a stool for? Is the stool about to go in the air and it's going to get pulled up with the pyrotechnics and she's going to flip and no, she's singing. Well, what is she singing? Heal the World. And then she gets that mic. Da da da, da 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 da. I said, oh my God. It was so bad, Janet had to get off her living room couch and drive out there and give a speech like, look, I got this. Just Ciara, like, I think Ciara should stop coming out with ballads. Like, I bet it's cool that, congratulations that it went gold, that's cool, but we don't like you for your singing, because your tone is not that great. You don't have a pretty tone, not to be rude, but Ciara's tone, when she tries to climb up there, it does not sound that great. In my opinion, she sounds like Tommy off the Rugrats. Like when she came out with the Sorry song, that's exactly what I thought of. I thought of Rugrats. Yeah, I thought of the Rugrats movie when Dylan gets lost in the forest or whatever. When she came out with Never Ever, or like, what are you doing? Like, people want to see you moving. People want to have a good time with your music. You were hot when you first came out because Goodies just was like that banger. And even though you were trying to sing opera and everything, the video was so good, we let you get away with it. I think Sierra, for some reason, you're still relevant. There's something about her that makes people still want to follow her. So I'm like, you still have chances. Hell, they didn't let you flop 4 times, and you still coming out with albums. So you better take your chances and figure this thing out. Like, I think there's hope for her. It's just the imaging is wrong. Figure out what you need to do. She was on the right path with the Evolution album. I don't know what happened afterwards, but I need her to go back there because her music has gotten stagnant. And this goes with the same for Chris Brown. Time check. 9 minutes. Okay. With Chris Brown, I think Chris Brown's music is stagnant too. I feel like he stays in this same bubble. And it's like there's no evolution of the music. Chris has 2 really great albums, which is his first 2 albums. Each album after that, there's lots of different voices that are missing. And I think when I talked about this in like part 3 or 4, or maybe 5 or 6, I can't remember, but it was about the cohesive album and how your albums are supposed to be a reflection of where you are in life. And when those albums are so well put together, and you go outside of what's expected, and you go above and beyond, and you just deliver a great piece of work, it makes people appreciate you. It puts you on that legendary status. Like, think about it. Sierra and Chris Brown both came out around the same time. Sierra's been out for about 11 years. You should that's technically getting into legendary status. Okay, when Mariah was at her 10, 11 years, she had already had #1s in every year, decade, and she was this, that, and the third. Mariah was the biggest thing walking. Same for Janet. Janet's career popped off around 86. By 96, she had a greatest hits album already, and was just, she was already getting tributes at award shows. Same for Michael. Same for a lot of other people. So it's kind of like, Sierra, you've been out for 10, 11 years, and you're still the butt of everybody's jokes all the time. People love going in on you all the time, and it sucks because on stage you're great. It's just, I don't know, figure it out. But going back to Chris, I think one issue with Chris is his sound is limited. He doesn't evolve. And it's crazy because Chris is talented. He can produce, he can write, he can dance, he can sing, he can do a lot of things. But his sound, there's no growth. And the other thing about it is Chris is getting older, so you would hope that as you get older, your sound would mature and evolve. I don't know why you came out with a dual album with Tyga, of all people. That's about as bad as the time Michael Jackson came out with the song with Eddie Murphy. What are you doing? I don't understand. Like, Chris's sound is just, it's staying in one place. You gotta remember, your fans evolve with you, and their ears grow. Like, Janet wouldn't have never been Janet if she would have continued to keep coming out with Controls and Rhythm Nations. As much as we love those albums, Janet needed to grow as an artist. Otherwise, she would have ended up like Paula Abdul. And I think that's what these artists are forgetting. Chris is starting to fall off because his music is stagnant. There's no growth. There's not a lot of development. His fans may disagree, but just for me, looking from the outside in, just the production, the quality, and everything, that's how I feel. Same with Trey songs. You've heard one Trey album, you've heard them all. How many different ways can you sing about sex? After you had the sex, what the frick do y'all talk about in the room? Round 2? Like, I don't know. Omarion, I can say the same thing with him. I like the song that he has with Chris and Janae Alco, but why the heck were y'all not dancing in the video? All 3 of y'all can really get it with the 8 counts. I would have thought y'all would have gave a great visual. Like, everybody is just real limited. Keisha Cole is backtracking. I don't know where she's going, but she need to find where she's going and figure it out. Because even, look, like, oddly enough, K.Michelle, even though she's not selling a lot of records, I think she's smart with her marketing. She stays on top of things. Her albums aren't too bad, especially the latest one was actually pretty decent. She had the little opera thing. She has all these different shows. She's getting her stuff. She's doing a bunch of different things. Like, these acts have got to really put the energy into their brand and build a foundation so that you can have some longevity. Everybody's making all this in-the-moment music, and it's killing people off, especially with this trap house music. Trap house music does not sell. Trap house music will not make people buy your albums. If you want to do trap house music, if you want to release a trap house single, there needs to be another version of that same song, but that isn't trap house. Like, if you go back to the 90s, everybody used to have their single, but they always had a house version of the single because that was the one that was in the clubs. Everybody today is just trying to come straight to the clubs. So all these trap house songs, yeah, those are great at the club, but people don't want to hear that when they're riding to work in the morning. So I think it's smart to, you can still have your ratchet trap house version, but make sure you have a different version that we can listen to when we, you know, want to hear other things. I think that's why Rihanna's bitch, you better have my money ain't doing too well. Because now that sound is dying, it's getting old, it's getting tired. And now that Beyonce is ratchet nose all damn day, and all of her songs are 7-Elevens and Bow Down Bitches and I'm Feeling Myself and all that, even though Beyonce, the project was still cool, but Beyonce's on her ratchet phase because she was in motherhood phase during the previous album and she was loving on top. Now that she's jumped into the ratchetness, and the ratchet sound is oversaturated. So Rihanna, as much as I guess people are anticipating your project, we don't have your money, bitch. We don't have it. No, I'm just kidding. But I don't know. I think some people are just good at growing and evolving and others aren't. Like, I think John Legend has done a great job of staying relevant and figuring out where his element is and where he belongs. And he's done great at that. Like, each album he has a totally different sound from the previous. And you can appreciate his albums for different reasons if you're into somebody like John Legend. Some of the other acts that I'm enjoying, I like what Jasmine Sullivan has out. I really enjoyed her concert when I went to it. I already said K.Michelle. I like the guy that has the I'm a classic, man. Like, I like the imaging with it. That's cool. I'm anxious to see how that album will sound, and because he's like buddy with Janelle Monáe, I know it's gonna be something great. Time check. Okay. But I like El Varner. I like the I'm losing my train of thought. Tinashe is kind of growing on me, but there's a lot of people that I think are putting out work that's pretty decent, and I just think these people have got to keep building for that foundation, making sure your sound evolves. You shouldn't be sounding the same way you did 5 years ago. I think in the last 5 years, Chris Brown's music has stayed the same. If you listen to a Chris Brown song today, you can probably play it on one of his previous albums from 5 years ago, and it'll fit right in. And I think he has to grow outside of that. I think with Sierra, she just needs to figure out whatever's going on with her image. Speaking of one of the veterans that tried to come back, Jodeci. Listen, I'm only going to spend about 40 seconds on y'all. Okay, I like the album, I like the song, but y'all look like some crackheads in y'all music video. I don't know what drugs y'all been on, but you can't make a music video and make a comeback and come out there looking ashy. Okay, if you haven't had an album since the 90s and you come back out and it's supposed to be the big return, first of all, if you're over the age of 35, we don't expect you to look like you did when you were in your 20s, but you should still look somewhat distinguished and polished. So you shouldn't look like Uncle Leroy who rides his bike at 4 in the morning around the neighborhood looking for pickle juice. Okay, like, I watched that video and I was like, what the hell am I looking at? First of all, you got Devontae up there looking ashy, purple lips crusting his eyes, got shaves all crusted around his mouth. He's just gray looking. And then Casey and JoJo are on another kind of high that I can't even find. Then out of nowhere, Dalvin isn't even in the video until the last 10 seconds of the video. Then when they show him, he's singing the wrong lyrics and he's dancing off beat, looking like somebody's drunk uncle at the family reunion. I was like, what are y'all doing? Like, you can't pay me to see Jodeci for free in concert now because I know it's going to be some bullshit if it's going to be anything like that video. So it's all about imaging and everything else. Anyway, I think Mariah still has a shot at doing something. I don't know what it is, but get that imaging fixed. And I think she has to accept the fact that that voice is not what it used to be. Use what you have and make it work for you. I think it's smart that TLC is on tour with New Kids on the Block. That was a smart idea that will bring them to a new audience. You know, they've had a hard time since Left Eye Died staying relevant and just being successful, but I think this was a really smart move for them, so they're enjoying their current arena spectacle. Janet, I can't wait to make a video about what you got coming out. Mary J. Blige, I kind of liked the London sessions. It was different. I liked the artistic vision. Fans might not have liked it as much, but oh well. I'll do a part 13 a little bit later because I do want to talk about some other things, but it's kind of time for me to wrap this one up. So share your thoughts. Also, let me know who y'all are into. Some of these newer people. I'm trying to step my game up. I like Luke James too. Nobody bought his album. That was actually a good album. Anyway, I'm out. Subscribe.